Well, now SSRS is installed, we can now open it. But where is it? If we click on the Start, All Programs, Microsoft SQL Server 2012, you can see there isn't actually anything that says Reporting Services, or what do you do? This is, in this case, the program you want. SQL Server Data Tools, SSDT. However, there are some caveats. If you have got Microsoft Visual Studio 2010, 2012, 2013 or 2016 installed, you may find that this Data Tools is not actually installed because if you look at the icons are very similar. In fact, it's the same program. Data Tools is another version of Visual Studio. It's just a bit of a restricted version. Visual Studio is a bigger version, and if you install SQL Server, you just get a few add-ins to Visual Studio. Alternatively, if you're working, say, on your corporate computer and you've got Microsoft SQL Server 2008 or 2008 R2, then they don't have SQL Server Data Tools. What they have instead is something called BIDS. BIDS is short for Business Intelligence Development Studio, and it's a sort of form of Visual Studio. It's a really cut down version. So if you're using BIDS, if you're using Visual Studio 2010, 2015, you notice the icon's fairly different for 2015, but it's the same program. Whichever version you're using, open it. So I'm going to be opening up SQL Server Data Tools SSDT. Quite often people will still refer to BIDS, but it's the same program, essentially. So you can see it's Visual Studio Shell is what's opening when I click on SSDT. So if you just wait for that to open. If you're familiar with Visual Studio, you'll be very familiar with what's here. So we can open up a new project. And when we click on New Project, we can see that we've got a choice of two in the reporting services: Report Server Project Wizard and Report Server Project. Now we won't be using the wizard in this. If you wish to look at it separately, that's fine, but I think I can teach this much better if I ignore the wizard and go straight for this one. So click on this and find a directory and give it a name, and I'm going to call it SSRS Report and click OK. All the wizard will do is walk us through lots of different steps, but I want to go through the steps individually in some detail. And you can see create directory for the solution. So the entire project is in a solution. And you can see here we have a solution explorer. So that's essentially your project. So click OK. And in the solution explorer, we now have the name of your report, SSRS report. Actually, that's the name of the solution. There are no reports at the moment. We've also got data sources, data sets, and reports. But we can't really go much further without actually having some data. So in the next one, we're going to download a database and install it, and we can use that as the basis of all our reporting.